Hello chess friends, and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel, and welcome to my series The Best Chess Games of All Times. So in this series we see the best of the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history, and today it's a game played by the legendary player Paul Morphy. So Paul Morphy, I don't know, he's basically the Beethoven of chess. He was really important in chess history, I think, and today I wanted to show you his brilliancy against the player Louis Paulsen. The game that I'm going to show you today, it was played in 1857 in the American Chess Congress. I think it's also an important event. Later this event was called the US Championship that we have today. So as said, Paul Morphy was never crowned as the world champion in chess, but that was something else, of course. The first world champion was Wilhelm Steinitz, and I remember Garry Kasparov once said about Paul Morphy that he's really one of the most important chess players in history, because his attacking ability was something else. And I want you just to imagine now the situation that we have maybe a Paul Morphy today in 2019 with these possibilities to analyze the games with computers. I think Paul Morphy would be the world champion today. So his attacking brilliancy even in the 19th century was impossible, and today you'll see why, because he had this really ideas in chess, because producing ideas is one of the most it's the hardest thing to find, of course, in your own chess games. Sometimes we don't see tactical possibilities. Paul Morphy was really one of the best tacticians in chess history. So let's see the game. Here Paulsen played the move e4. We have e5 by Morphy, knight on f3, knight on c6. We have knight on c3. Of course, the game can now transpose. This knight on c3 is already a little bit a tricky move, because we are waiting now black to do, and we can then transpose even on bishop to move bishop on c4 and bishop on b5. So we are waiting black to do something, and then we'll decide if we go into Italian game or in this common Spanish game. So here, of course, Paul Morphy plays knight on f6, developing the knight. We have now the four knights variation of four knights game here, bishop on b5, and now bishop on c5. You may think that after bishop on c6 you can take this knight, but it's really not so good, because then you get something like queen on e7, and then we have some discovered check possibilities on the e file. So that's why here Paulsen first castled. We have also castled by Morphy, and now knight takes on e5. If you take knight takes on e5, it leads now into a very dynamic game. But from black's perspective, I think it's very good here to continue even if you have this move d4. You can play bishop on d6, and now f4 is very dangerous. But here I recommend you, if that happens sometimes to you, just to simplify the position, because here you can play knight on g4, and after here e5, you can simply play bishop on b4. After maybe f5, we can play simply d6, really forcing now white finally to take this knight on f6. And now after knight takes on f6, the position is much more simplified. You have a good development, you have an active bishop. This f5 pawn could be a target. We have also possibilities to play c6, d5, rook on e8, and similar ideas. So I don't think that black should be worrying here. So that's why here after knight on e5, here rook on e8 was played by Paul Morphy. It was a different line, and we have now knight on c6. Here d takes c6, and now the bishop has to retreat, and of course here Paulsen retreats on the most active square, on the square c4. But you see, this is a very important line, because this line is also played now these days in top grandmaster level. So you see Paul Morphy and Paulsen were familiar with this very nice opening lines of this particular four knights games. And here we have b5 by Morphy, simply keeping attacking this bishop. Bishop on e2, we have knight takes on e4, and now knight takes on e4, rook takes on e4, and now bishop on f3. This is also a very nice move, bishop on f3, discoverably attacking this c6 pawn. So that's why Morphy had to retreat with the rook here on e6. c3 was played, and I want you to pause the video now maybe and try to find really a great move here that Paul Morphy has played. It's really a great positional move. It stops the it stops White's development, and it's really an important move. It's the move Queen on d3. You see now that White has developing problems because you don't know what to do with this bishop. You cannot develop it to a3 because here the bishop has already covered this. You have to maybe play something like b4, but if you play b4, it weakens much further your queen side. So you have weaknesses on like squares here, so that's why Queen on d3, perfect positional move here played by Paul Morphy. Here we have this move b4, as said, bishop on b6. This bishop is now the best piece of blacks here on the board. We have a4, and now b takes a4, queen takes on a4 played by Paulsen. And okay, this pawn is attacked. You can of course defend it with move bishop on b7 and also with bishop on d7. And this is now this difference between regular players and well, Paul Morphy, because here Paul Morphy played bishop on d7. Although if you put this move in this computer evaluation, it's not the best move. The best move is bishop on b7, but it's part of the way how you play chess, because here you see after bishop on d7 we are staying on this very important diagonal, which will be very important in the continuation of the game, because here Paul Morphy was preparing a really deadly attack against white kings. So here rook on a2 was played, and this is now a huge mistake by Paulsen, because the best move is really here to simplify the position with the move queen on a6. After queen takes on a6, rook takes on a6, we can maybe doubling up the rooks, but now after bishop on g4 you can play something like bishop on c8. Here rook on a1 can be played, but now rook on f6, and here black can even white can even try here to trade off these rooks, maybe occupy the e file, and I think this game would end in a draw. But here after rook on a2, Paul Morphy, really one of the best tacticians, uses this moment immediately, and he first doubles the rooks here on the e file, and here now Paulsen tried to trade off the queens, but it was really one move too late. Here really Paul Morphy played one of the best queen sacrifices that I've seen in my life. He plays the move queen takes on f3. So after g takes on f3, you see now the problems, and this is now the importance to have this bishop on this diagonal. Here a rook on g6 was played, king on h1, and now bishop on h3 with this threats to play bishop on g2. If you try something like rook on g1, it's game over, because you get checkmated. Bishop on g2 can be played after rook takes on g2. Here rook on e1 leads to a forced checkmate. That's why here after bishop on h3, rook on d1 had to be played, and now bishop on g2, king has to retreat, but now bishop takes on f3 with the discovered check, king on f1, and now bishop on g2. Here Paul Morphy had missed a forced tactical sequence which leads to checkmate. Here after king on g1 he had bishop on h3, king on h1, and now he played bishop on f2, but the better move was to play again bishop on g2 after king on g1 to play the move bishop on e4, and now you have to play again with the king. Here then bishop on f5 is very dangerous, because the threat is of course to play the move bishop on h3, which is unpreventable. You have to bring the queen even here on e2, and now after bishop on h3, here again it's forced checkmate. So but maybe here Paul Morphy was a little bit trolling with his opponent, I don't know, I'm not sure. Here after king on f1 he played pardon me, here after king on h1 we have bishop on f2, and now the threat is of course bishop on g2 with this forced checkmate. That's why queen on f1 had to be played, bishop takes on f1, rook takes on f1, and now very nice move here, rook on e2. This is now the threat to doubling up the rooks on the second rank and create checkmates here on h2 or g2. So that's why here Paulsen broke another defender, but here rook on rook on h6 was played, and probably the best way is maybe even just to give up here this rook, but again it's simply losing for white. Here in the continuation, Paulsen played the move d4, and now bishop on e3, and in this position Paulsen resigned. So if you take this bishop, then we have of course rook takes on h2. After king on g1, we have rook on g2. Again, a very nice checkmate with these two rooks. So great game, I think, by Paul Morphy. Great sacrifice. You have to see this this move. It's great tactics here. Queen takes on f3, liberating now this like squares. This coordination of this rooks and this bishop is really deadly against white kings, and here white was lost anyway. But Paul Morphy prolonged the game with the move bishop on f2. He had forced checkmates, but maybe he was trolling, I don't know, because he was sort of a guy who wanted to play the most attractive moves, not maybe the best moves, which was maybe his problem in the continuation of the career. But of course we all like these attractive players like Paul Morphy, Mikhail Tal. I enjoy really these great players because there was really something else with this great queen sacrifices or other piece sacrifices in the middle game. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. Meanwhile, you can watch my other commented chess games, this best chess games of all times, and you can also watch my commented chess games from some current tournaments or some other played games. And you can also watch my commented chess games played by computers, in which I show you the best games played by AlphaZero, Lila C0, and Stockfish. And you can also subscribe to my channel if you like this content. Thank you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.